playing works. Hello everybody. As you can see, I have a guest here. Her name is Mary McGregor. She is an owner of several sober living homes for women. That's right?
Yeah.
And we were having a good discussion before we went live here. We're talking about basically what the FDA is trying to do to NAC. And I've talked about this on the channel here before, but for those of you who don't know, NAC is an amino acid. It's a supplement. It's also used in the hospitals, and they called it a drug because it was studied as a drug in 1963. But there's all sorts of people who believe everything the FDA has to tell them and Big Pharma has to tell them. And I was very happy to hear that Mary also believes that there's a matrix out there.
Yes.
So I'd like to hear more about your thoughts on this matrix, and then we can kind of bop back and forth about it.
All right. So I've pretty much broken it down to myself to where I can very easily and quickly explain it to people over the years.
Let's hear it.
I believe that it's basically exactly like how you saw the movie The Matrix.
Yes.
Okay? And how humans are the battery for the machine. The only question is, like, who's the machine? And in my mind, the machine is, big. There's a lot of things a part of that. It's Big Pharma, is definitely a key player. It's politics. It's anything which, that profits off of humans.
I mean, in the capitalism society, that is a huge part of it, right? So Big Pharma. But the thing is, they brainwash so many people. And I think this NAC issue brings it to the forefront. And this is the big difference that I see, right? The way you hear some people talking about supplements, something like ashwagandha or something like NAC, and they'll be so quick to say all the side effects, like, oh, that ashwagandha, that'll give you some anhedonia if you're not careful. Or that NAC, this will grow the size of tumors if you're not careful. But I'm like, dude, if you were to ever put under the same scrutiny pharmaceutical drugs like Adderall, fentanyl, Xanax, Klonopin, like stuff that if you stop taking it, it will kill you. Mm-hmm. If they ever put the same scrutiny under them, you would see like the list of the side effects of those things would be never ending.
Right.
Like they literally could kill people.
Yeah. And
the addictions and the things that they cause, but yet they don't talk about it. And to me, that's part of like a big aspect of the matrix. You see it on Reddit. They're Big Pharma shills. There are FDA shills. And there's another version of it on the Uber and Lyft subreddit, right? There's people that I'm pretty sure are being paid to run cover for the corporations that sent them, and they're paying them.
Right.
And a lot of people, they're afraid to push back, right? And I mentioned this NAC thing to the supplement subreddit, and they ripped me. And there's one guy, I'm pretty sure this bastard, he's one of these, like, he's a plant, and he's like a Big Pharma / FDA. He runs cover for them, basically. Mm-hmm. And I screenshotted a review of an NAC supplement, and a woman said, I don't know what this is, but this doesn't seem like NAC. It doesn't smell the same, didn't have any effect. And he removed my post. And I said to him previously, I said, has anyone else noticed that there's something else different with the NAC recently? And they said, nope, that's a conspiracy theory. I'm like, what do you mean a conspiracy theory? How is it a conspiracy theory to think that Big Pharma wants to make money? Is that a conspiracy? Of course not. But that's what they want to do.
Right.
They want to make money. And so, but they've tricked a lot of people. They've tricked a lot of people into thinking this. But I don't know, what are your thoughts on the whole supplement matter?
I think that what is used is the same storyline for anything that doesn't fit the agenda of keeping people sick and dependent. If it doesn't fit the agenda of keeping people sick and dependent, then it's a conspiracy theory. It's not really good for you, or it doesn't matter. I mean, you got to look at even marketing. Like, these things aren't marketed. Health and wellness, it's up and coming, but if you notice over the years, the more that like holistic hippie lifestyles have been on the rise, the harder people, Big Pharma has fought against health and wellness. Not directly, but just look at COVID. It depends on where you think COVID even came from. Look at where COVID came from. Look at where sickness came from. And there's one thing that like just always remains true. You cannot control a healthy person. Healthy of, mind, body, and spirit. If a person is healthy, mind, body, and spirit, you cannot control them. Okay?
I agree with that.
They're not dependent as much on the government, on, big pharma, on pharmaceuticals, on being a consumer, right? They're not sick as much. They're not, they're happier and things like that. But when you keep a human being scared, okay, when you keep them in fight or flight, when you keep them sick, when their life is so overwhelming due to their fight or flight, due to their illnesses, due to the money it costs to even treat yourself, due to all the side effects of the pharmaceutical drugs that we're given, the food that we're given, GMOs, all those things, due to everything that they market that they say is good for you, right? Because that can be anything from not supplements, from pharmaceuticals to food to your shampoo to whatever. And now it's like they greenwash everything, right? Because we can talk about that too. And we have all these things in our products and all these things in our food and all these things on our TV, right? On our radio stations as we're, going to work, just subconsciously listening to things.
Sure.
Always directing us to things that aren't good for us, because when you're sick and when you're in fear and you're not operating at a high level of consciousness or of vibration or of happiness or of health and wellness, you're easily manipulated.
That's true. I mean, there's not much money to be made from healthy people.
Right.
Right? And that's one of the COVID thing. The first thing they're talking is, this is why you need to get a vaccine. Mm-hmm. But then why are they talking about, how about you get some good exercise? And how about you try not to be overweight? And how about you try taking some vitamin D3 or some zinc and make sure your immune system is as strong as can be? To think that wasn't the first line of defense. But the first line of defense is, you better take this. You better take this, or we're going to...
Well, the first line of defense was to quarantine everyone. The first line of defense was to shut down the country. So therefore...
Only because they didn't have it yet.
Well, yeah, because that was always like the end goal, if that was the end goal.
Well, there's two parts, right? I think it was a compliance test, for one.
Yeah.
To see how many people would just blindly obey and say,
yes.
Yep, I'll shut down my business.
How many people can we control? How many people can we
And guess what we discovered?
Yeah.
A lot of people is the answer to that question, is how many they can control.
Yeah.
And so they said, we must first control and break down your will. Mm-hmm. And if you're a small business free thinker, we don't like you very much. We're going to make it the most difficult for you to stay open. So you can say what you want about that bearded Ian Smith dude from Belmar, but I interviewed him.
Oh,
I appreciated what he did
about
it. And I may not agree with him on everything, but I'm damn glad that he decided to stay open, and he stuck it to Murphy and Friends, because guess what? That was his livelihood doing that. And they're going to be able to take someone's livelihood just like that. It's like, get the frick out of here with that. But then once they decided that, they said, we'll break their will, and then we're going to give them our solution. And I keep on thinking, because that woman, Russell Brand, talked about this thing the other day with that woman from the Pfizer. Her name is Miss Small, James Small or something like that. And they were asking her, did you guys ever test to see if the vaccine would stop transmission? And she laughed, and she's like, we had to move at the speed of science, she said. And I'm like, the speed of science? Like, what the? Like, you're going to hold people's jobs over their head and tell them they can't work unless they do this? You're going to have Biden say things like, oh, this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. If you're unvaccinated, blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to do all this, and then you never even tested to see if it was going to stop the spread. To me, that was the only argument they could ever break to try to make people even do it, is that if it stopped the spread, okay, you have more of a point. But if it doesn't even stop the spread, it should be everyone's choice. It always should have been someone's choice. Those things should have never been held over someone's head. And it kept on making me think of Pink Floyd's Have a Cigar, when he goes, and did we tell you the name of the game, boy? We call it Riding the Gravy Train. That's what it is. That's all it was. So you have the control part, and now the money part.
Yeah.